and he's going to house it.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Quick Six, your home for 6 NFL and college football picks. Brian and I each have 3 each and every week. We'll do a little college, a little NFL, all that good stuff. Let me share my screen here as we recap the week that was before we get into the week that is. Not the week your boy was looking for. The hot streak did finally come to an end. Iowa State was almost got the money line there. They had a chance. Brian and I were in Vegas, sitting in a sports book, watched Iowa State drop that pass that should have kept the drive going. And so Iowa State, thank you for coming through. Penn State, why do I do this to myself? Michigan was the better team. And we were sitting in the sportsbook. I did not bet them in the second half, despite dominating the first half, because I am an idiot.
Just like, even before we get off that game real fast, I do want to mention, even as a Michigan fan, that was the right side going into that spot, because Penn State was very veteran going into a game against a very young offense for Michigan. So I thought that was the right move, taking the touchdown on the road with Clifford and company. But like you said, it was apparent early that Michigan's offense was steamrolling Penn State.
Yep. And then the Giants are somehow keep finding ways to win. The fact that Saquon Barkley didn't even have to score and they were able to take knees and win the game is pretty wild. Lamar made some very questionable throws.
Yes.
And so that kind of led to their demise. But yeah,
I heard some stat on my drive home from Vegas that the Ravens have led by 10 or more points, I think in 4 or 5 of their games already this season. They just suck in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I think you bet them in the first half. I think they've trailed for a total of like 15 minutes all season long.
So maybe they're just the team that I bet first half bets all the time on, since those are like my
favorite.
They're
the first half bet of the season. Brian is finding form as he went 2 for 3 this week. You hit your best bet of Vikings money line. You could have taken the -3 and covered with ease. But you took the money line, which is fine.
It looked scary there for a little bit, so I was actually happy I had the money line. It was less of a stress.
Cardinal Seahawks under was never in doubt. I think they scored like 30 points total in that game. So that was a nice hit. And then obviously the Patriots Browns, Patriots offense woke up. Bailey Zappi looks like the next Tom Brady. And that offense went absolutely bananas. So that is why you did not come to fruition there, but you're up to 8-12 on the season.
Yes.
Digging yourself out of that hole like I did in NASCAR. I'm 14-7, up 13 units, so feeling pretty good about where I'm currently sitting. Brian, as I mentioned, we have 6 picks, six picks. I'm going to go with Kansas Jayhawks plus the 8 at the Baylor Bears. I think this is an overreaction to last week where Oklahoma was able to kind of take advantage of the schedule and kind of just figured stuff out. Everything kind of came together for them. Obviously, getting Dylan Gabriel back was huge. But I think this Jayhawks team is better than like an 8-point underdog on the road. Baylor's fine, but they've they're far from the elite teams. I think this is a game that's around a 1-score game, even if Kansas doesn't win. So I will take the Jayhawks, and another week for Jason Bean to kind of get it together and figure stuff out.
And they were close early in that game too against Oklahoma. It's not like Oklahoma was kicking their ass early. It was close.
And they had chances to kind of come back in the second half. We thought maybe even they could get that money line, and then not so much. But yeah, they are a fun live betting team, as I got 24.5 with them in that game. That was very nice. Brian, your first college football play is the Syracuse Orange catching 13.5 at Clemson.
Yeah, this is my first college play in a couple of weeks because my college picks have been atrocious this year. But of like the few games I've actually been able to catch, I've actually watched a few of the Syracuse games. Dino Babers has this squad playing incredible, probably the best they have since Donovan McNabb was behind center there up in Syracuse. They have the 6th best scoring defense in college football. Clemson, yeah, they're putting up some big numbers, blah, 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 but they have played crap. in terms of their schedule so far this year. I think Syracuse goes in there, gives them a run for their money. Clemson really gets awakened by the fact that they are not just going to kill everybody in the ACC anymore. And the Qs cover this number easily.
I think Clemson probably rolls, but we'll see. we'll see. I do think it's an interesting call. If it was
shrinking as we speak too.
It is, and despite more money coming in on Clemson, which I think is interesting. If it was in Syracuse, wild stuff happens in the Carrier Dome, but being on the road, I do have a quick play. There's no line currently for it, but a little extra, a little
Kyle's
cherry
crazy
on top of the sundae. Tennessee Martin plus whatever the points are against the University of Tennessee. Tennessee had their Super Bowl. They beat Alabama. They were amazing. Everything was so great. Everything came together. This week, they are going to have a little dose of reality. They're going to be looking at their clippings. Tennessee Martin's going to make it interesting. It's going to be one of those games where like you're watching some random game and they're like, and we go to Knoxville where the Vols are down 13-3 to Tennessee Martin. And people are going to be scratching their head. And then by the end of the game, they'll win by 2 or 3 touchdowns. But the Tennessee Martin's probably be like a 45 point underdog this week. I think they cover that number with ease. So if you find that number and you want to ride with me, I will be all over UT Martin this week as they look to have a nice little contest. Switching to the NFL, I am going to take the Denver Broncos on the money line versus the New York Jets. Why? Because I'm crazy. Why? Because I think the best unit on the field is Denver's defense. I know the Jets have been good all this year. I know they've made tremendous strides from the Siva franchise they used to be. But Zach Wilson's still their quarterback. I think the Broncos defense will do enough. I think their offense is not great, and I think this game could be really gross, and maybe I should just take the money line. I mean, just take the under, rather. If you want to parlay the Broncos with the under, I don't hate that either. But I think this is like a 13-6 game that the Broncos keep just close enough, and they find a way to remind the Jets that they're not quite ready for the elite primetime Super Bowl, whatever you want to call it. So I will take the Broncos on the money line. They win a gross game, and they cash this ticket for me.
Yeah, I actually like this play, especially at this point in the week with Russell Wilson's status technically up in the air because he's dealing with a hamstring issue, which, by the way, there's no way he's not playing considering the Chargers kicker dealt with a hamstring injury and kicked 4 friggin' field goals with an injury to his leg. Like, Russell Wilson cannot let it go down.
He just needs to drink some concussion water and he'll be fine.
Yeah, so I like this play, especially right now.
Your next play, going back to the NFL, Dallas Cowboys -7 with the potential return of Dakota Prescott.
Yeah, look, everyone's going to look at this game. They're going to think maybe the Cowboys, it takes them a little bit of time to get rolling on offense with Dak back. But CeeDee Lamb looked fine, although he was supposedly dealing with a hip injury. He looks fine. Dalton Schultz is practicing in full. Jason Peters is practicing in full. Not like he's done too much, but the offensive line is looking good. Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott are going to run all over the Lions' second worst run defense in the NFL. Detroit is still like battered with injuries on the offensive side of the ball. DJ Chark and Josh Reynolds now are not practicing on offense, so they may just have Amon-Ra St. Brown, and there's no guarantee that DeAndre Swift comes back. I think the Cowboys defense does enough to keep Detroit at bay, and they run away with this probably by double digits.
I hate to burst your bubble yet again, Brian, but Detroit, I have bet Detroit real money plus the 7. This feels like a game where the Cowboys get up 24-3 and the Lions kind of creep back ever so.
They are good at that late in games.
And they find a way to, like, even if it comes with a late touchdown, to cover this number. So, I mean, best of luck to you. And by that, I mean, worst of luck, but you do bring up some good points. And I think there's a rationale behind what you're saying, and obviously getting Prescott back, but maybe a Lions first half play, Cowboys full game play could make some sense too if Dak starts a little slow.
Yeah, I like the first half under in this game. If you're also going to stay away from the spread, I think you take the first half under with the Cowboys offense still trying to work things.
I like that a lot. My final play, the Jacksonville Jaguars -3 versus the New York Giants, fading the great state of New York all weekend long. The Jags are favorites at home, despite being 2-4, welcoming the 5-1 New York Giants. This number makes no sense, so I'm going to go with it and see what happens. I think the Jags offense can do enough. Their defense is really good, and I love Daniel Jones. I'm one of the biggest Daniel Jones truthers you will find, but my God, a little dose of reality is going to come. Saquon keeps getting hurt, keeps having to leave the game. I think the Jags win this game at home. I think the Giants get a little dose of reality and welcome back to mediocrity. Giants, you've been fun. Dayball's been great, but my God, the luck factor with this team has been insane. And as we stay with this game for your final play, Brian, you are going with the under 42.5, and I like that quite a bit as well.
Yeah, it for the same reasons you were talking about liking the Jaguars here. The Giants offense has accumulated the 9th lowest amount of yards on the season this year. They have 0 passing game right now. Jacksonville's defense has actually been playing extremely well, and we've seen them at times this year be able to completely control games. I think this game is played in the 30s. It's probably kind of similar to that Arizona-Seattle game where it's a lot of like teams can move in between the 20s, but then once they get in the red zone, there's a lot of issues punching it in the end zone. So I do think that this game is probably like a 20-17 or one of those weird like 2016 finishes.
Yeah, betting on these offenses that like to run the ball and have been really ineffective to have issues scoring touchdowns and kicking a lot of field goals seems like a good idea. So I like that quite a bit too. So Jags plus the under, Broncos plus the under. I'm happy to do both of those. Let's recap the card. Let's give the people our bets with our unit plays, and let's get the hell out of here. So I have 3 plays this week, 3.5. Kansas plus the 8. I'm going 2 units on that one. I have the Broncos money line. I'm going 3 units on that one, and I have the Jags minus the 3. Also going 3 units, and then I have my Tennessee Martin plus whatever it is as your little cherry on top of the Sunday. Brian, give the people your picks and your units, and let's get the hell out of here.
Yeah, so my college card, I'm going with the Syracuse Orange at plus 13.5. I would have preferred I got that earlier in the week at a total of 2 touchdowns in Clemson, but I'm going to lay 2 units on that over at PointsBet at minus 105. I'm taking the Cowboys on Sunday, -7 at home, hosting the Detroit Lions. Dak Prescott back. The defense is incredible. At minus 105 over at DK, I'm going to do a 3-unit play there. And then for my best bet this week, I'm going to take the Jaguars at the Giants. They're Jaguars versus Giants under 42.5 at BetMGM, or there's a couple other books also with the juice at minus 110. I'm going to go 4-unit play on that. I just don't think either of these two offenses are good enough to be able to capitalize inside the red zone. So I think this hits the under and pretty convincingly.
I like those calls quite a bit. If you are enjoying the Quick Six, make sure you smash the subscribe, hit the likes button, and let us know your favorite bet for the NFL and or college football this weekend. We're always down to look. If you are enjoying betting and or NASCAR, come check out our NASCAR content. We're there each and every week as the season comes to a close. That's Brian Twining. I'm Kyle Robert. Enjoy your football slate, and we'll talk to you next time.